and your
I'm Zach Smart from White County. The other gentleman said that we don't want the Constitution to tie the hands of our government officials. I think that's the exact reason we need the Constitution, to tie the hands of Barack Obama and others who infringe upon our liberties.
Does anyone wish to speak against the amendment? Brett from Saline County. I can see you. I'm standing on my tiptoes.
Thank you. Brett Hooten, Saline County. I'm a little confused why we're wanting to ensure that we constrain the use of our armed forces by the president. We want to remove the War Powers Act from the platform. The War Powers Act itself was meant for that purpose, that the president needs congressional approval to commit our troops. It was obviously passed during the Vietnam War. So if that's the purpose, why are we taking this out? I understand the constitutional issues around it, but I'm a little concerned that every time there's a terrorist action in the work, that I don't want people spending hours like we're doing debating whether we can go arrest somebody if it's constitutional or not. I'd rather act and save lives first. So that's just my position. Thank you.
I'd rather act and take lives first and ask questions later.
Are you speaking for or against the amendment?
I'm speaking in favor of the amendment.
Okay, hold just a minute. Are you speaking for or against the amendment? For the amendment. Okay. I will allow one of you to speak, and then we're going to close this thing. Okay? You may speak.
Who's got the better point?
My name is Kelly Anderson from Issac County. I'm for striking the War Powers Act. It does take away from our Constitution and the rights. Only Congress should declare war. I agree with what some people say about the terrorism and stuff. That's a police action. That is not a war. That's right. And we should be able to respond to that. But where I'm coming from is like when the man sitting in the White House ordered the attacks on Libya. The 500,000 apiece Patriot missiles that kept getting launched without Congress's approval. It gives too much power to one man, and it needs to be stricken down. It does hurt our Constitution. And thank you. I surrender the rest of my time.
Mr. Long, do you wish to make a closing statement? Wayne Long.
Yes, sir, I'll try. As to the War Powers Act, it was a law that was pushed through Congress during the time of Democratic control. I think it usurps the congressional requirement to have a declaration of war. We've not had declared war since World War II, and we've not won a war since World War II. I believe that if we are going to get into any type of war situation, it should be sufficient enough matter to merit the declaration of war, and we should put all effort into winning that war, and no more halfway doing it. As to the constitutionality, I would agree with the other gentleman. Benjamin Franklin was right to give up freedom for security. You end up with neither. And I think that's kind of where we're heading right now. We really need to make a stand for the Constitution. Personally, I'd rather die in a terrorist attack tomorrow than to live without our constitutional freedoms. Thank you, sir.
Representative Ann Clemmer wishes to close in support of the platform's position of not adopting this amendment.
I regret that I didn't say something earlier. I was not a part of the conversation when we considered the original amendments. But today I've heard the arguments that we should adhere to the Constitution and that we should limit the powers of the president. Well, I think some of us in the room have mischaracterized what the War Powers Act does. You can argue whether or not the War Powers Act is constitutional or not, but the War Powers Act limits the president. That's why it was passed. We had 2 undeclared wars, one in Korea and one in Vietnam, and as a reaction to the growing unpopularity of the war in Vietnam, Congress in 1973 passed the War Powers Act, which limits the president's ability to engage troops in hostile situations and gives Congress the power to reject that military involvement. Now, you know, I fully believe in the role of the committee here, of the convention here, and the power of the delegates to accept or reject this platform. This is all of our platform. And so I respect the wishes of this esteemed body, but please be clear what you're voting on if you wish to strike the War Powers Act. Thank you.
Both parties have closed for their positions. Let me state what you're voting on. If you vote in favor of the amendment, it will strike line 23, the sentence beginning on line 23 of page 15, and add the following words in its place. However, war can only be declared by Congress as directed by the U.S. Constitution, and anti-terrorism efforts shall under no circumstances infringe upon the constitutional rights of U.S. citizens. If you vote in favor, you will be voting to add that language, striking the language concerning the War Powers Act. If you vote against it, you will be voting to leave the platform as it presently stands, the language in it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye!
Those opposed? Nay! The noes have it. Next amendment.